Welcome to Gretchen's garden and greenhouse. A couple of new dahlias that are growing in the flower bed. And here we are on a beautiful, cool morning in Idaho.
Did you want to take a look at the pruning and talk about that a little bit?
We'll get to that in the questions and answers section that we're going to do at the end of this session. Let's look at this greenhouse over here where you've got the cover on it, and we'll talk about that.
Now, the greenhouse has just been getting way too hot to have anything in there, so I'm kind of experimenting with some shade cloth. So this is a shade cloth. However, that's working pretty good where it is, but if you take a look over here, in the morning the sun just beats really hard on this east side and it really heats it up fast. Oh, by the way, here's my solar fan. So I'm going to get another thing and kind of cover this end a bit and see if that won't make it a little usable. I'd like to start some biennial plants and perennial seeds. And I really need to start those now so I can grow them through the winter.
And one of the things that we noticed before we put up this cover is that we have a thermometer that goes to 120 degrees and that's it. And it would be pegged out and it would feel like it was a lot more than 120. With this in place, we run around 115, give or take. And so, but that's honest. It's not a pegged thermometer. It's the actual reading on the thermometer. So a little bit more shading, and I think it'll be very usable in the summer, besides using it as a dryer for herbs and so forth.
Okay, let's just do a little tour and work our way over to the garden a bit.
Okay.
I kind of like this sunflower I've got here. This is a new seedling that I grew. I just think this is kind of a cool sunflower right here.
You know, I've walked through this area several times, and all I've ever noticed are the yellow ones. That is an absolutely gorgeous sunflower, isn't it, though?
Yeah, it is.
Now this guy,
this one looks
reaches
sick.
to the sky.
Oh, look at that guy! Yeah, that's a tall seedling I got the seeds from the neighbor across the fence.
Yeah, every now and then a head will pop up over the fence, and the lady that gardens next door, and they trade things over the fence.
This would be considered a weed, but I'm going to call it a native flower.
Oh, you mean I should have dug that out a while back?
Well, I think let's see. Look at it starting to bloom.
Oh,
and I think the bees might kind of like it. Then if you come over here, we've got our pear tree. And our pear tree's in a little bit of trouble. So I'm starting to get some boards and kind of prop up some of these limbs. They're kind of, I don't want them to break.
This is the real change from last year. Last year we got a frost right as the blossoms started. And anyway, at the end of the season, we got one pear.
Hummingbird.
See if we can get
him. Yep, he's gone.
He's gone. Okay, well. Looks like the apple crop is going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
And this is another apple tree.
The wind
got that
sunflower. I'm going to cut
that
baby
sunflower
down.
We're going to have to.
Yeah.
Just so tall it can't handle it.
Yeah, it's got a lot of blossoms.
Okay, well we're headed over to the raised bed garden because that's we're really starting to get produce out of there, and in fact we got our first tomato earlier this week, and so we're starting to enjoy them.
And we're getting cucumbers, but it's hard to see. And beans, these are beans. We've been picking beans.
We've been picking beans and freezing them like crazy.
I've got the...
That's to keep those white millers or whatever you call them off of the cabbage. In fact, that's Brussels sprouts, isn't it?
Brussels sprouts, yeah. It's Brussels sprouts. And look at it, they're doing really good.
Yeah, they sure are.
We'll see.
They have been nibbled on a little bit, but not too bad.
That reminds me, I'm going to try an experiment. I've ordered a fairly large piece of shade cloth, and I've been reading that tomatoes set on better if you have a little bit of shade over them during the hot part of the day. So we'll probably next week I'll show you. I should have the shade cloth by then, have it on, and we'll see what it will do. But as you can see here, our tomatoes are starting to ripen. And this is a volunteer Sweet 100 that I decided to let go because I didn't plant any Sweet 100s. So it's starting to produce.
Well, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's just a volunteer. We'll see what it does. And some more beans.
Okay, we're ready to... I got one thing that I wanted to talk about, and then we'll get to the questions.
Well, let's show our artichokes. I've never grown artichokes before.
Well, I didn't know we were growing one.
Oh, I have lots of surprises for you out here.
I'll bet it's that one right there because I've been looking at that thinking it was a weed.
Nope, that's artichoke.
Well, as much as I like artichokes, as far as I'm concerned, it's a weed.
Don't you touch my artichokes?
Yeah, I won't. I know. Okay, I want to step over here to the equipment. I wanted to talk about something over there. We'll keep the equipment on the side of the shed here, and there's something I wanted to share with you. For years, I always used one of these to do a lot of my weeding. I could go along, and I was at that time able to reach out and just kind of, and I can hardly hold that up anymore. I'm just getting older where that heavy shovel is difficult to hold out away from my body quite a ways. Well, I've been using this for a year now. Got it at Ace Hardware, and it's a baby shovel. In fact, to compare the two, you can see that there's a bit of difference. A lot of difference in the weight.
Well, you could be a little more careful too with that shovel.
Very much so. And what I'm able to do, which I really like, is that I can step out and I can hold that thing and I can reach out into a flower bed and go to dig out a weed. And we'll do some weeding here in a few weeks, but for right now, I just wanted to share with you. And you don't have to go to Ace Hardware. I have since seen these smaller shovels in several other garden supply centers. But anyway, I think we probably ought to get to some of the questions. It's my email that's got all the questions, and I'm gonna turn it onto you, Gretchen. And let's wander over to the berry patch because we've had several comments on the pruning of the berries. And when I say several, I mean I'm talking about 7 or 8 comments from people on, well, why did you cut away so much? What did you cut away? It looks like you just thoroughly destroyed it. I mean, we've gotten comments like that from all over. So Gretchen, as we wander along, why don't you talk about why you cut things back the way you did?
Well, it's taken me a while to get to that point. I used to leave, 4 or 5 new canes per clump. And now I just try to use a couple of canes, and I'm finding that the side shoots, I cut the top of it off, and then the side shoots kind of go, and those are where the berries really are. And the fewer, well, if you have too many canes, the berries are very small. So I've decided in our old age to just have a couple. As you can see here, here there's just 1, and here's 2. The other thing is all this is where an old cane, when it looks woody like that, it's an old cane, it's not going to produce anymore, it's going to die, just cut it off. And then you look for these nice green, sturdy canes. And then the little skinny ones, get rid of them. Just keep these really good ones.
We sure got larger berries this year as a result. And in fact, here's one probably on the ragged edge of being one of the skinny ones that could have gone right there. It's a lot skinnier than the ones right next to it, which are heavier. Now, one
And
of
all
the,
this little stuff here too, we need to cut that
yeah,
out.
that shows up all over the place. That's how it propagates. Is it
Now,
just
the
comes from the roots?
blackberries, I struggle with those a little more, but I'm just trying to lose individual canes. I cut them off at the top, and then I'm going to keep the side shoots fairly short. In the past, I let those side shoots grow really long, and I find that doesn't really work. Also, we used to have a lower string here. Well, we don't like to bend down there and pick those berries up.
It's
so
getting tough to reach here, yes.
we're going to keep the berries on these two top rungs.
Okay, well, one of the things that I wanted to point out back here on the raspberries, never thought about it before, but I noticed it this year when we were pruning. Gretchen always does the pruning. I do the cleanup. But anyway, I want you to notice the nice green canes on this year's growth and the large leaves. Now, these leaves will fall off this fall, and then next year they come back, it's going to be a dark cane. The leaves are smaller, and the berries show up. I would assume the reason the leaves are smaller is that the plant doesn't want to put a lot of energy into growing leaves. It's growing berries, but whatever all that's worth. Now, the last question, and I received several questions about the microphone system that we're using. And so I wanted to turn around here, and I want you to notice what Gretchen has on her collar. I have an identical one on my collar, and there's a receiver on the cell phone. Now, the receiver on the cell phone seems to do a pretty good job. We think the audio is pretty good. And what we're really tickled about is that we have other cables that will allow us to use this receiver, our Zoom studio, and other cameras and so forth. There's one thing I wanted you to notice, that we can be quite a distance apart. I am going to move away from Gretchen, and then she'll start talking, and I'm going to walk further and further away. And Gretchen, you can tell us some about the berries or something.
Well, you know, the one thing, I'm sorry that you're walking away, because I just noticed something that I think that we should show them on these berries. I talked about the side shoots. If you come back, you'll see that the berries are now getting side shoots. You see, I cut it off, and see how it's getting these side shoots? Those are keepers. And that's where the berries will be.
The berries will be on that then, huh?
Yeah.
Well, does that pretty well cover what we're going to do for this episode?
I think so. I think.
Okay, great.
I'm running out of stuff.
Well, anyway, we're going to be working with questions in the future. So send us an email with questions, and we'll try to answer them. And if we can't answer them, I'll bet you there's somebody out there in the viewer land that can answer them. So watch the screen, and I'll put up the information on the microphone, the type it is, and so forth, and in our email address on how to send questions to us, or just put them right on Facebook. Hey, thanks now. Have a good one.
Bye.